Today is Wednesday, April 5th. We'll tell you about former President Trump's big day in criminal court, what exact charges he's facing, what he's saying about them, and what's expected to happen next. Also, how Russia is responding now to one of the most significant NATO expansions in history, and who the U.S. military just targeted in the Middle East. Plus, the latest on severe storms in the U.S., who could be eligible for another round of a COVID booster soon, and what tool could plan your next vacation for you. Those stories and more in today's episode. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. It was the first step in what could become one of the biggest criminal court cases in our country's history. Former President Trump was formally arrested, fingerprinted, and then came face-to-face with prosecutors who made him the first former president to be charged with a crime. Trump was charged with 34 felonies that all relate to an alleged hush money scheme. Prosecutors say during the 2016 presidential campaign, Trump falsified business records to cover up payments to women who say they had affairs with him, and a doorman who claimed to have a story about another Trump affair. Each criminal charge relates to a specific entry among the Trump organization's business records that are allegedly phony. If Trump is found guilty, each charge comes with a punishment of up to 4 years in prison. But it's not clear if the case will ever get to that point. As expected, the former president pleaded not guilty to all of it. He says he never had the affairs, never made hush money payments, and never tried to cover them up as a business expense. Now, Trump's lawyers say they're exploring their legal options. They're expected to argue over the merits of the case, where the case should play out, and what evidence can be presented to a jury. When or if this actually gets to a trial depends on how many challenges are raised. For now, Trump's next court date is in December. After former President Trump left New York, he delivered a primetime address to hundreds of his most vocal supporters. In that speech, he again said the whole case against him is politically motivated and an insult to our country. As Trump put it, quote, "They can't beat us at the ballot box, so they try to beat us through the law." Trump didn't just denounce the case out of New York, but he also went after several other past and ongoing investigations into him. For example, his 2 impeachments, the federal investigation into his handling of classified documents, an investigation out of Georgia into whether he tried to interfere in the presidential election, and more. But the former president also promised to keep fighting all of it and to keep running for president in 2024. All around the country, supporters and opponents of former President Trump rallied to demonstrate how they feel about the criminal case. Of course, some of the most tense standoffs happened in New York City, where Trump was actually in court. Many of his backers held signs that read "Trump or death," while his foes held signs saying "Lock him up." The group spent hours yelling at each other, and there were a few confrontations, but police officers separated the two sides, and there was no serious violence. Trump's campaign is using all the interest in the former president's legal case as a chance to raise money for his re-election bid. It's now advertising a T-shirt with a fake mugshot of former President Trump with the phrase "not guilty" below it. It comes free with a $47 campaign donation. But even before the shirts came out, the Trump campaign was raking in cash. It says it's now brought in more than $10 million since news of the indictment first broke. NATO has just officially doubled its border with Russia, sparking a furious response from the Russian government. Finland's flag was raised at NATO headquarters yesterday in a ceremony to welcome the country into the alliance. With that, Russia said it would strengthen its military presence in the west and northwest part of its country that now borders NATO, and said it would be watching closely to see what happens in Finland now. Of course, NATO is a security agreement between 31 countries now in North America and Europe that essentially says an armed attack against one is treated as an attack against all. When Russia's president launched an invasion of Ukraine, he said the goal was to keep NATO from expanding along its borders. Well, now American Secretary of State Antony Blinken says by attacking Ukraine, Russia triggered exactly the opposite, and that now Western nations are more united than ever. Sweden is also looking to join NATO, but for now it's still waiting on Turkey and Hungary to approve its application. Stay tuned. The American military says it took out another high-level ISIS official in Syria. It was a senior member of the terror group who was apparently in charge of planning attacks in Europe and developing leadership of the ISIS network. The military says it tracked him for months, and this week it carried out a drone strike that killed him without hurting any civilians. His death is now expected to make it harder for ISIS to plot attacks, at least for now. A U.S. military commander says ISIS is still a big threat to the Middle East, and it still has the desire to strike beyond that. So taking out these kinds of targets is still considered a priority. From the south to the upper Midwest, a severe storm system brought tornadoes, large hail, and strong winds. And as we published early this morning, it's still going. The places most at risk now include Arkansas, Oklahoma, and southern Missouri. And it's possible some of the same places that got hit in last week's deadly tornado outbreak could get hit again. So far, the worst damage from this system has been in Illinois and Iowa. Parts of those states reported tornadoes and hail the size of grapefruits yesterday. And this system is going to last a while longer. In fact, storms could get even more intense this afternoon and evening as they reach the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and Mid-South. Severe weather might also linger on the East Coast tomorrow, but the storms aren't expected to be nearly as widespread by then. Still, there are volunteers from around the country ready to help with cleanup and recovery wherever it ends up being needed most. All right, we have much more news for you still coming up, but first, a quick break for our sponsor. In addition to your daily news roundups, if you are looking for a roundup of great candidates to hire in your business, you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. So don't spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills when you can do it all with Indeed. Find top talent fast with Indeed's suite of powerful hiring tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. Sponsor a job and boom, Instant Match shows you candidates whose resumes on Indeed fit your job description immediately after you post. And yes, it's important that the people you are looking for you in the same place. Well, get this, 81% of U.S. online job seekers search for jobs on Indeed each month, according to ComScore. Indeed knows that when you're doing everything for your company, you can't afford to overspend on hiring. So visit Indeed.com/newsworthy to start hiring now. Just go to Indeed.com/newsworthy. Indeed.com/newsworthy. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Well, there is apparently another round of COVID-19 booster shots on the way. Several news outlets say the FDA decided to let some people get another one of the vaccines that was updated specifically to target the Omicron variant. American seniors and people with weakened immune systems who are all up to date on their boosters already will be eligible for this extra round. Though doctors and other experts are split about this idea. Some say there's not enough data to justify another booster, but others argue it would help people who are high risk as the protection from their last shots is starting to fade if they got them when they first came out. Either way, the decision is expected to be officially announced within the next couple of weeks. Then the FDA has a plan to move to a once-a-year COVID-19 booster for most Americans that's retooled each year for whatever strain is most common. Basically, it would take the same approach as the flu shot. But that campaign is not expected to roll out until the fall at the earliest. A new analysis of more than 40 years of research changes what many scientists think about alcohol. They say it's now clear an adult drink here and there probably won't kill you, but it won't help you live longer either. And that's a change since some earlier research has suggested that light or moderate drinking can actually improve life expectancy. Other studies had shown health consequences with any level of drinking. Well, now researchers say those studies weren't based on strong science. What they say now is that no amount of alcohol can lead to a longer life. But the risk of dying goes up in women who have more than 2 drinks a day or men who have more than 3, since there are a lot of diseases linked to alcohol. One author of this latest study says the takeaway here is drink less, live more. But of course, don't stress the small stuff. There are a couple of new options out there for anyone looking to book a vacation. For example, Expedia is now integrating the AI chatbot ChatGPT into its app to help people make travel plans. It can apparently give advice on where to go, where to stay, what to see, and even what to do. The chatbot will also save any hotels it discussed to remind people what they talked about. That's available on the Apple version of the Expedia app now, and Expedia says it plans to bring the function to Android soon. Although keep in mind, you can sign up to use ChatGPT on your own and ask it for your trip suggestions. Travel bookers can also take advantage of a new Google search tool. It's a price guarantee badge. If you see a flight listed with that badge, it means Google thinks that's the lowest price you're going to get. Then if you decide to book with Google and the price does drop, Google will give you the difference back. One of the most widely celebrated holidays in Judaism starts tonight at sundown. It's Passover time for millions of Jewish people around the world. The holiday lasts 8 days and is meant to celebrate the Israelites' escape from slavery in Egypt as told in the Bible. Every year, families use the occasion to get together and eat traditional foods during a big meal called a Seder. And throughout the next week, Jews will be eating unleavened bread called matzah instead of bread made with yeast. If you want to greet a friend, a family member, or coworker celebrating this week, you can wish them a happy or joyous Passover. Well, that's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Work Wednesday, when we break down one interesting career or work-related news story every Wednesday. But first, a quick reminder that you can get ad-free episodes when you become a Newsworthy Insider. Support the work we do here to keep you informed every day and save some time with no ads when you become an insider. Learn more and start your 7-day free trial at thenewsworthy.com/insider. Thanks again to all of our current insiders for all your support. A bonus Ask Me Anything episode will be available to you coming out later this month. Okay, now back to Work Wednesday. New government data out this week shows the labor market is finally starting to cool down. The Labor Department says there were 9.9 million job openings in February, and that's down from 10.6 million 1 month earlier. It's actually the first time job openings fell below 10 million in nearly 2 years. And analysts see this as a sign that the Federal Reserve's efforts to slow the economy might be working. The Fed has been hoping companies would cut openings so that workers would be less likely to quit their current jobs in search of higher pay. With too many openings, the Fed says workers will get more pay, but companies will then pass off those extra costs to customers. And with that, more inflation. So the Fed is likely happy to see this latest report. Not only are the job openings lower, but fewer people were hired. Fewer people were also laid off, meaning it seems companies are holding on to the workers they have and then not bringing on many more. It's not clear if this will be enough to convince the Fed to slow down its interest rate hikes, but they'll get more information to work with on Friday, when the next employment report comes out. Well, thank you so much for joining us as part of your daily routine. We'll catch you up on more news to know tomorrow, so be sure you're following or subscribed in your favorite podcast app. Until then, have a great day.